Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Alpha first generation student panel meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody. Just a quick reminder, next week we'll be having a meeting based on personal branding, where we'll be having a speaker come by Mr. Krebs, who is a personal friend of Professor Osaki's. And he will be coming to speak on the importance of building a personal brand for yourself within your organization. So that'll be a great meeting to attend. And with that, I'd like to welcome our panelists, Jessica Prophet from UCSB, Carol Madrid from CSUN, Dan Silva from USC, Sparkle Harris from Cal State Long Beach, Dan Ochoa from USC, and Liliana Garcia Moorfield from USC Master's Program. Welcome everyone, and we will be having this meeting based on first generation issues. Starting with Sparkle, we just want you to explain the problems that you face. Take 5 to 7 minutes each, problems you faced regarding being a first generation student and navigating that whole kind of college life, problems with family, finances, any nuances that you feel are important regarding this issue. So starting with Sparkle, please share you guys your experience, and then we'll get into some questions later on after everyone has shared that the students have handpicked and that Professor Osaki has created a survey for, where we surveyed the students. So Sparkle, the floor is yours.
Hi. Sorry, my doorbell is ringing. I think some of the challenges I faced were being first gen. Nobody in my family went to college. So when I was stressed or had any questions, there was nobody to turn to. So I couldn't tell anybody. If I told my grandma, I would tell her I'm stressed and she could care less. She literally would just ignore me and keep talking about herself. So I realized that there was nobody for motivation, nobody for support. My friends, I would tell them I'm going to school. They said, what are you doing that for? No one cared. So I think it kind of made me be more introverted because I had no one to talk to. So it kind of changed my whole overall personality. And then the resources. So I know that for me, I live on my own. I've been on my own since I was 18. So going to school, which is why I'm a reentry student. Initially, I went to school and I had to drop out because I had to work. I thought that working was more important than school, but years later, I realized the importance of education. So this time around, when the same situation happened, I didn't have money. And I said, shoot, I'm gonna have to repeat history and drop out. So it's like, I think not having somebody, it's like, okay, no one was there like financially or mentally to support me. So I had to find, I guess, the support and the resources, which I started at Cerritos. I started looking for help, looking for resources, looking for groups, like looking for the community. And so being around people who are kind of in the same situation, it helped me, I guess, motivate me. It helped push me. I had to push myself. So I found resources, I found money. Cerritos had a program where they paid your rent as long as you're in school. So it's like I found out in my last semester. Had I known that, it would have taken off some stress. But when I went to Cal State, I would start looking for the same resources. I'm like, okay, I have how many months left? Let me try and graduate as soon as I can. And let me see how I can, support myself financially with the help. There's so many donations and so much school. Like people donate millions and there's so much money, but it's a matter of finding it. And I think maybe if I had support, they would tell me where to, direct me, but I had to find everything myself. So I feel like between applying for grants, applying for scholarships, contacting people at my school, all the basic needs, contacting people, joining groups, it helped me combat the financial side, because that way it's like, when you're worried about your rent and your bills being paid, you kind of can't focus. It messes up your distraction. And then when you're trying to relay your stress to people in your family who could care less, it's like you're not really, there's no outlet. No one cares. No one wants to hear about your grades. They think there's real life problems. No one cares that you're getting a B or a C. So I think that was a struggle, not having an outlet. So it's like, when you're stressed, who can you talk to? To me, I would always aim for good grades. If I get a B, I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. So I realized I put so much pressure on myself because I know I'm the only person that cares about me, and I'm so hungry to graduate and to do great. So the pressure I put, I think it would help if I had someone telling me it's okay, you can do it, but not having any type of support at home or in my family. I think it's why I put so much on myself. I can't get a B, I can't get a C. It's the pressure. So I think that's where taking advantage of support. They have mental health groups. So all the support I've gotten to make it through was through school. There's no one else. They have first gen groups at school. I'm on the first gen board in my school. I do some first gen support groups. And our overall issue we have is support. We don't have anyone to talk to or communicate that understands what we go through and how to navigate school or life. So I think if I can go back and tell somebody or tell myself, I would say, if you don't have the support at home, it's at school. Trust me, somebody's going through the same thing. The stress, putting the pressure on myself. I wish that I had someone at home, but I know just talking to people at school in the first gen group, we all have the same things. So regardless of having anybody at home, I think the support on campus has helped me. So yeah, the motivation and encouragement, that's kind of helped me get to where I'm at. So right now I have a 3.8, 1B, but I'm just trying to tell myself the next semester, don't worry, if you get less than 3.8, it's okay. So it's a matter of telling myself that, because there's no one else to tell me it'll be okay, but it will be. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Sparkle. And you know, Professor Osaki has told us so much about things you're doing at Long Beach. And you know, the fact that I just learned that you're an advocate for first gen students on campus is amazing, you know, and I know you do amazing work there for them as well. So next we will have Liliana speak.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Hi, Professor Johnson, how are you? Yeah, so let's see. My situation is a little different. I'm in the master's program. I'm an older student. It took me 10 years to get my bachelor's. I got my bachelor's in liberal studies with a concentration in history and social sciences. So then I jumped to accounting, and that was a big jump. But you know, I went to Cerritos College to do my prereqs to go to Cal State Long Beach to get the master's program there. And I was taking a class, and then I got introduced to this program called the Pathway to Success program. And then I met Professor Osaki there. When I met Professor Osaki there, he encouraged me to go to USC. And, you know, that's scary, right? Like USC is just like a dream school for everybody. It's not like anything that seemed attainable. I never thought it was something that was in my future. And it's kind of what Sparkle said, right? Like when you don't have that background, you don't have that support, you don't realize your potential, and you don't think, like, I never thought I was good enough for USC. And like, now I'm over there going to graduate May 13th. And yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough road to take when you're the only one that's done it. You're blind. You know, when I got out of high school, I got accepted to Cal State Long Beach and I flunked out. And after that, I was going to LBCC and I flunked out of LBCC. I think I went to Cerritos College. I flunked out of Cerritos College. So it's like, trust me, it's really hard. And when you don't have support, when you don't know what you're doing, and when you're too afraid to ask for help, it makes it very difficult. I think one of the benefits of being an older student is you kind of stop caring so much what other people think about you, and you start realizing that you have like some self-worth and you want to succeed in life. And you realize that you kind of do have to support yourself if nobody else is rooting for you. And which is okay, right? They don't know how to root for you because they've never done that. They don't understand the pressures. I know in my family, it was like, hey, I have this assignment to do. Like, yeah, but it's family time. But they don't understand like having to put off family time because school is more important. So that's one of the pressures from, you know, I mean, we're Mexican and we're in a very traditional household, you know, the woman has her place. And I was always the black sheep of my family because I wanted more for myself, and I refused to stick on that path. Let's see, it's kind of hard to talk about yourself, right? It's kind of awkward. But yeah, I mean, look, like I know Dan, I know Carol, I know Sparkle, I know Lucy, I know David, I know Daniel, I know Jeanette, that's my sister, Jeanette Garcia. And I hope that I'm like paving the way for her, so it's a little bit easier for her. I know she's on her own road and she's doing great. I'm really proud of her, but I just hope that like I've been able to help her. I think having a a younger sibling who wants to do something in accounting as well is it does motivate you to try harder. It's a lot of pressure because, you know, you don't want to fail. Like, who wants to fail, right? But being able to show her like, hey, hard work pays off. And now, like Osaki said, I'm going to EY in Austin and, you know, a big four. I never thought that would happen for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to say. So yeah, that's about it. Any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, so as an older student, I was wondering if you encountered any stigmas when you were transferring to USC.
So the only stigmas that I encountered were in my own head. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. It's actually nice to be the older student. Like, the younger students do come up to you and they're like, they want your life experience, right? Because some of the kids in my program are 20, or some of the adults in my program, they're 22 and they just like got their bachelor's. And I'm like, what are you doing with your life? Like, go live, you know? But hey, that everybody's on their own path. So no, the only stigma that was there was my own. I think it's been beneficial for me. I've matured a lot. I have a lot of life experience. And without that, I don't think I would have been successful in the master's program at USC. So no, I mean, I'm 30 and that does feel pretty old. I am like one of the older students in the program, and it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like, you know, everybody's riding the same wave. We all support each other and we're all in the same mental space because we are struggling. And it's kind of nice to just get rid of that barrier when you like stop thinking about how old you are, right? Because it's a personal problem.
Can I say something to that? As an
Please.
instructor, some of our very best students are re-entry students. They go out there in the working world, they realize the value of an education, and they come back and they have tenacity and perseverance that many younger students haven't quite yet developed. So kudos to you. It's awesome to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liliana. I know that I think last year I had mentioned in a speaker meeting that I was struggling with that. And I remember you reached out to me and we talked about it and stuff, and I really appreciate that. So next we'll have Jessica speak.
Sorry, my computer's being stupid. Okay, one of the biggest things I want to say outside of the struggles from family and everything like that is just a label of first gen, because for the longest time I didn't even realize that applied to me. One, because I have outside of my immediate family who've gone places, done things, but there weren't close support, or they weren't like really touching my experiences too much. And also because I've had my mom got a tiny bit of education, but not a lot. You know, she didn't go far. So with the whole even realizing I was at it, opened up some opportunities at school because there's a lot of support for you there. But like Sparkle and Liliana talked about, there's not a lot of support from home or understanding what's required once you get to school, or just the skills too after you get at school. Because I'm already graduated. I'm actually at a firm in Santa Barbara, a small firm in Santa Barbara working, which is great. But like understanding what I need to even do to talk with professors, to talk with counselors, to talk with all these people, meet the firms. I don't know how many of you are actually into the accounting field, but that's just daunting, not even realizing this is a thing that happens. You know, I didn't know about the whole process of just, you know, I went into school. I'm a multiple time reentry student. Like talking about, I just turned 38. I was 37 when I graduated. So, but one of the best things I want to say that happened to me was coming to Cerritos and meeting the professors there, because I learned from them and got support. Like, I mean, I've been kind of quiet the past year or so with people, but just having the support from outside of where I thought I would get it. Because you expect your family to support you. You expect them to understand what you want. And once I decided to go outside of what I thought, because originally my idea was, you know, once I went back to school, finally decide on something that I liked, you know, they didn't see the point of going outside of other schools. Like Santa Barbara's like, why do you want to go there? I didn't even realize that was an option for me. There's so many options out there besides this little box you see, you know, um, and even at school, they were still why. And then looking for a job, even though Santa Barbara is not far away, because I grew up in the LA area, you know, they're like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take on, you know, it's expensive there. It's this, it's that, you know, they're what they experienced. They're just trying, it almost feels like they're trying to hold you back from what you can be because they just don't understand the opportunities out there. You know, I'm gonna go off tangent. I have my little this. I don't know. It just, I think, I don't know. But what's, like I said, what's helped me the most is just actually once I made the relationships with the professors, you know, they can guide you if you have the great ones. Professor Melody was my first start, and then I met Professor Saki, and it's just, I don't know. Sorry for me, I'm not the best at speaking. It's still one of the things I'm learning. I think that's one of the biggest things because I didn't have that. Like the people in my family were really easy to make relationships, talk with people, and I was always the quieter person, and they didn't push me to be more interactive with people. To this, I didn't see family with anything outside of other family. I didn't see other types of relationships. So that's still one thing I struggle with, maintaining relationship, understanding what, even at work, what's necessary to keep you going, to move you to the next step. So it's just a big learning experience, but it's something you keep doing when you think about, okay, where do I want to be? What's the next step for me? You know, you don't stop. There were times my family thought I was going to fail. I worked at a grocery store for 11 years and they thought I'd be there the rest of my life, because there are points where I still struggle with mental health right now. So and they don't completely understand that. It took me years to just even mention it to my family because I didn't feel like I had the support there. I still don't always feel like I have the support there. So it's great to finally have met people that, you know, you have your experiences, you know, they're not the same story, but it doesn't, you know, each person's story is valid. Just realize one of the biggest things I want to say, whether your story is, you think it's minute compared to what somebody else is, don't invalidate your own story because it's going to just bring you down. So just reach out when you need to. I don't know. Thank you. I don't know. Have questions.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. And, you know, as someone I've also struggled with mental health issues. I know how hard that is with family relationships and stuff like that to, you know, to deal with that. And I feel for you, you know, and thank you so much. That was very insightful. Next, we will have Daniel Ochoa.
Hey everybody. So I don't know. I think like issues, right? Like some of them stay, some of them go. And like at the beginning, I struggled a lot with like even understanding the world I was stepping into because you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times there's a lot of things that hold you back. And for me, like fear was one of the biggest ones. And I had many similar issues that people had where like you have like two voices in your head, right? For me, it was both my parents, like my mom pushing me like, hey, do better. And then my dad saying, no, like I'm an immigrant. I came here undocumented. I did well for my family. You don't have to do this. Go work, you know? And that's one of the reasons why I didn't take school seriously right away. And it's one of those things that like persist, right? You create rifts with your family. And that's one of the biggest issues that I've had, like going through university and transferring. Like right now, as I speak, like my brother hasn't spoken to me in over a year, and that's been really, really hard because for the longest time he's been, you know, a very close friend of mine. And in addition, like with family, like the stigma behind, like, you know, the guy is supposed to be working. I have a family. I stopped working to go and do university full time. And that was something that like my family couldn't wrap their head around. I know my wife had trouble with it at first, and there's all this like, you know, like how you start to value things, you know, interactions at school, at university, events. And I get questions like, why are you spending, you know, 10, 12 plus hours at school when you could be here with your family? Like you have kids, and it's just like the struggle between having to explain to them how valuable this is and how important it is for your future. And along with that, like everything else that it brings, like I had a lot of growing up to do at university, unfortunately for me, because I was like a hermit. I always kept to myself. I always thought that if there was something that I could do it on my own. And I never realized like how to ask for help. Like that wasn't a concept to me. And it's something that I had to learn how to do. I had to learn how to find resources at university. I had to get over that stigma of like, it's not because like, it's not all on me, right? Being a first generation student, you don't know how much help is available to you. Going back to that, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And like, it can suck, you know, like it's the biggest thing that I struggled with at university. And, you know, my grades suffered for it. So now, you know, it just gave other people more ammo to throw at me like, oh, like you're doing it, but you're not even doing well. Like you did so much better when you were at community college, like you're wasting your time. And it's like, well, no, like I had a lot of things to learn. I had a lot of different ways to grow, and everything that I'm doing is like to help me for my future, for my kids. It's hard, right? And even with those reasons behind me, it's still hard sometimes to find motivation because you always put blocks in front of you, right? Like there's self-sabotaging behavior. There's people that don't want to see you succeed. There's people that are jealous. There's a lot of things that just go on with it and makes it extremely difficult to be like a first-gen student. But I think the biggest thing is like developing the skill of like asking and talking to people, because then you start to realize that you're not alone. There are resources that can help you get through this. Campuses offer a lot of things for a lot of stuff that you're struggling with. I know that some schools offer like free therapy sessions, right? A few free therapy sessions, and that alone could be like a tremendous amount of help. So I think that's like been like the biggest thing that I've struggled with. So in my transfer journey.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I know, I mean, I struggled personally with reaching out to people and you know, asking for help, because I always thought, you know, personally that they're not going to want to help me. They don't want, you know, anything to do with me. But once I got over that kind of like, you know, barrier, I kind of learned to conquer that as well. And it also helped me as well. Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate it. I'm sure we all do. So next we will have Dan Silva.
Thank you. So first off, thank you for setting this up and hosting this, Tamir, and also Professor Osaki. I know he's not here anymore, but I do want to thank him as well. It's a great opportunity to be able to talk with people who are following in a similar footstep, and where my story or you know, whatever experience I've got can add something there to their lives, I think is incredibly valuable to myself. Also, I haven't had the pleasure to meet Professor Johnson. I've heard of you, so I just wanted to say hi. So we're talking about like alienation, I think, of being a first generation student, at least how that feels, and trying to struggle to belong somewhere. And for me, I want to hit on a few notes that people had mentioned. One of them is what Jessica mentioned about being not know whether or not you fit as a first generation student. I had an older brother, he's 11 years older than me, and he graduated from a trade school. But I was not exposed to nothing of that. The family wasn't, there was no one, like I felt so just like his path and whatever he did like was not part of anything close to being in my atmosphere environment. So I didn't feel like I had any support. My parents didn't go to college, so there was this lack of direction, a lack of purpose of why to go to higher education when there's not really a lot of good reason, or at least a lot of good just, you know, support in the sense of them giving you I guess a better explanation as to the purpose of it all, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and I'm also an introvert as well. So it was like putting myself in a lot of those situations. So I'm a reentry student as well. Speaking on that, the conversation of age, I just graduated at the age of 34. It was the day before my 35th birthday. So it was, and I completely agree with Liliana in regards to the psychological like issues of feeling like you don't belong, which I've never faced anything, at least people in front of me talking to me about that being the ordeal. I've never had that. It's always been inside, and I felt it just in comparison and being in that environment. Definitely, you feel like you stick out, even though you may not, but you feel like you do. And I also want to talk about I guess a little bit about my story and how being a first generation student affected me. There's this big giant looming question of like, what am I supposed to do? You know, like, we hear from Sparkle, and I agree with her as well, of just putting in the effort to do everything and feeling like you have to fill in all the paperwork. You're going to have to find those answers. You're going to have to look for those resources, and you're the only one looking for them. And that there's like no one else you can tap into. That's at least how you feel. And so you're supposed to ask this question of, okay, I'm supposed to do, take these classes, what am I supposed to do after that? Who am I supposed to talk to? How am I supposed to do that? And a lot of those questions go unanswered when you're doing it on your own, which is what I did for the last 10 years after I graduated from high school, was getting the job on my own, figuring out where to live, just doing basic, adulting on my own, having no network or sort of direction as where I'm supposed to be going or doing. And so once I was at the university level, there is pathways to what you're supposed to be doing. There is pathways that are very obvious. And if you grew up within that, with those directions and that type of environment of support behind you, that it's extremely clear as to what the next step is going to be. For me, I didn't feel that at all. I felt like I thought I knew what I was supposed to do, and I was supposed to go to Cal State Fullerton, and because it's really close, I'm supposed to graduate accounting because it's easy and I knew how to do it. And then lo and behold, we think about it in reflection, that is not, for my capacity, not what I was supposed to do. And then I had somebody like Professor Maloney who really saw out that the ambition in me and gave me direction and support. And then it definitely opened my eyes to, now I have a way better understanding of what I'm supposed to do. I know I have like a list of things I'm supposed to do when I make a decision. I have this concept of this framework that I can apply as to how I end up navigating social environments. How do I deal with challenges? How do I deal with inner psychological pressure that I put on myself? How am I supposed to deal with that? I have answers now because of these other people, and I know I can get answers if I don't have them immediately because of the network and because of my experience. And I feel like as a first generation student, that is the big obstacle. That is the hard, it's a hard hill to climb over. It's this idea that we can do that, and it's possible to do it. It just, we don't even know where to look for to do that sometimes. And for me, that has been the biggest, I think, key factor in being successful as a first generation student, was like realizing that and being able to get over or get through hard work, the stuff that that really boggles us down. Usually it's a lot of it's the voice in our head and the situation we're in. And then after getting past that, I realized my actual capacity as a university student. And that's led me to being somewhere where I feel I'm the happiest and the proudest I can be of myself. So definitely it's a hard path, but it's definitely doable. And that's what these things are for, is to really lay out the foundation that it is very much doable.
Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it. And, I think that, Professor Osaki has always tried to drill into us at Pathways to maintain our relationships with our cohort, because they're going to be going through the exact same things, and give us that support and maintain relationships with professors. So I'm really hearing that message, to maintain relationships, and that will help us navigate the social barriers and stuff like that, and financial barriers as well. Next, we will have Carol.
Hi, everyone. I feel like I'm going to echo a lot of what already has been said. And that's a great thing, right? Because in some way, somehow, we're all in this collective experience together. And although we have our own experiences with being first gen students, there's so much overlap there with each and every one of us. And I'm sure that you guys are already getting a sense of that just listening to the various struggles that Jessica dealt with, that Daniel dealt with, that Liliana, Dan, Sparkle. For me, that first gen experience, let's see, for sake of not repeating a lot of what was already said though, I think my experience was, excuse me, was unique in the sense that I was a mom. So my daughter was about a year and a half old when I went back to community college. So I graduated high school in 2013. And then I went to LBCC, basically flunked out of there. And then I took 3 years off. I had my daughter. And then when she was a year and a half old, I went back to college. And so, you know, having to navigate being a parent and being involved on campus, getting the good grades, you know, obviously that was very, very difficult. And again, it's not having that support, right? Being first gen, not having anyone that is on this path with you that can kind of navigate you and show you the exact pathways. You know, Dan mentioned something really important. It's that multi-generational students, they clearly see the different pathways. So they're not stressing out about, is this even going to be possible? Am I even going to reach the goal? No, they clearly see the different pathways and they work towards that. They believe it, they see it because their parents did it or people in their immediate circles have done it. It's so familiar to them, even though they've never been on this journey themselves, right? But as a first gen student, you're kind of sitting there, you're putting in all this effort, making all these sacrifices. You know, Daniel Ochoa mentioned being 10, 12 hours on campus at a time. And then your family is like, what are you doing? What are you up to? And you get questioned and they don't understand it, right? You barely understand it. You're like, I know I need to be here and I know how busy I am. And I know that it's going to be worth it. I don't exactly understand how I'm going to get there. Because again, we can't see the pathways. We just know that we keep going, we keep working hard. We have those hard conversations with our professors, with our mentors. And there's just something in us that tells us like, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Just keep it going. But, you know, the people that are supposed to be supporting us, right, our family, they don't see that. They don't understand that. So that was challenging. Having family, trying to explain to them something that you don't even fully grasp yourself is very difficult because you're running on this hope at first, right? It's just this hope of, I know that this is what I have to do. How do I explain to you that this is what's necessary? But I can't explain to you why, because I'm just running on hope because I don't even believe it myself yet because I haven't gotten to that point. It's impossible. It's impossible to really quantify that experience for your family to get them to understand and then support you. Right? And so how do you deal with that? I don't really have an answer for you guys. You just do. You just keep going. You have to do it. And then you reach a point where you see the pathways. You get to a point where you finally get over that hump and you believe and you see the pathways. And what's interesting about that is that the busier you get, the more complicated, complex situations you find yourself in with your different family commitments, work commitments, school commitments, your social networking commitments. It doesn't get harder once you see those pathways because you start to develop all the skill, you develop all the skills necessary to tackle that. And part of it is handling your family. And a lot of that is the mental growth that you go through, the mental and emotional growth that you're going through. And you are all going through it right now. It's not just about, this college experience is not just about academics and getting your degree. That's not the real value there. It's that mental and emotional growth that you're going through, to where you're going to get to a point in your life, you're going to be super busy. Family issues are still going to be family issues. If you think they don't get it now, they're going to get it. Even like, this gap is this big right now. And then once you're professionals, which you all will be, that gap of understanding for them is going to widen, but your stress about it is going to decrease. It's so interesting how that happens, but it does, because you're putting in the work right now, showing up to this meeting, talking to Professor Maloney, to Professor Johnson, to Professor Osaki, to your peers, just having this conversation alone. You're putting in that work every single time that you do that. And you're going to get to that point where, yes, handling those issues with family and that come with being a first gen and them not understanding, even though that's going to widen as you become professional, the stress of it is going to get smaller and smaller, because you're going to know how to navigate it. And so for me, I would say maybe my first 3 to 4 semesters, my mom had a really hard time trying to grasp like why I had to be on campus for so long, and, oh, what are you doing, and questioning where I was going. And it's stressful. It's really stressful. And you're like, oh, is that mandatory for a class? Oh, no, it's not, but it's this important event because my professors think that it's going to be helpful. Well, if you don't need to go there for a class, because there's a lot of laundry that needs to get done, and the dishes have piled up, and there's a list of responsibilities that go on, and they put all of that in front of what for other people is really obvious, and that's your education is the most important thing. But for family, they don't see it like that. And so that was a really big battle. I can tell you now that that's completely changed. Not because I changed her, but because I changed up here and how I handle those situations. And so that affected my dynamic with my mom. And now it's completely different. Now she doesn't question what I do. Why? Because I became assertive about it. I have to do this. I know you don't understand, but I have to get this. And then she's seen the progression of it, right? I transferred, graduated, I'm working, gonna start at a Big 4, and she doesn't understand what any of that means, but she's seen the nuggets of value in it with my interactions with her, and conversations that we've had, and I've tried to kind of bring her along. And it's difficult because she doesn't really understand it, but when people see the change in you and how you handle yourself and how you handle situations, they start acting different with you. So when I stopped being stressed and frantic and anxious about the lack of support, and I started understanding what I needed to do, and it's just, I need to get shit done, period. And if you're gonna stress me out about it, I'm not gonna let that stress me out. I'm gonna do me, because this is what I have to do to be successful, bottom line. And so when people start seeing that without you having to tell them that, they will change their attitude towards you. But it all starts with you. That's it. I don't think I have anything else.
Thank you so much, Carol. I think a lot of our students can find solace knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light comes with personal growth that will allow you to take on the responsibilities that you will be able to get because of the opportunities being presented, and the many different periods of life that you've conquered as a result of being first gen and a college student and all that. So a lot of our students, I'm sure, will find peace knowing that what they're doing will lead to that personal growth. Thank you everyone for sharing your experiences. Now this portion of the meeting we will be asking questions regarding a survey that Professor Osaki had sent out. He sent out a survey to all of our students in the Pathways program, asking, what first gen issues are you struggling with? And they replied, and we've curated them and come up with some very pertinent questions. So feel free to jump in on these questions as you see fit. It's not mandatory that all of you have to participate in them, but if you really feel strongly about a certain question, please jump in. So the first question is the first kind of comment that was made was that I would say the fear of picking the wrong school or having unrealistic expectations with no one to bring me down to earth was what was scary to me. The more options you have, the better it is. But when you have no intimate knowledge of any of them, it also makes it very difficult to pick one. And I think that's referring to picking colleges during this time and not knowing the kind of culture of the college. So does anybody have anything regarding that?
I do. Mine's really quick. I just want to say because I'm re-entry too, I think it took me almost 20 years to get an AA, which made me realize when I came back to Cerritos, I want to go anywhere. I didn't care what school. I'm like, give me the easiest school, which was Dominguez or Cal State LA. I didn't care about name. And when I came back, that's what I wanted. And they told me, oh, no, you can go. The counselor said, oh, no, you're going to go to Cal State Long Beach. And I'm like, there's requirements. I don't want that. I'm like, I just want to get out of here. I don't care if it's 60 units, get me out of here. And they kept talking about, oh, go to Cal State. And eventually they got in my head. So I'm like, might as well. Then I joined Pathways my last semester. They were talking about USC. And I'm like, that's not for me. I'm like, that's for like people who are rich and white. Like, that's not like, it was wasting my time to go there. I never even saw myself in the same caliber. And I think just being around, having them talk about it, and I started researching more, and then they connected me to people who went there. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. I can go. So my mindset changed again. I'm like, dang, I want to go to USC. Then I realized my whole pathway was going to Cal State Long Beach. So it was kind of too late, but they encourage you to wait and just take your classes. I didn't want to wait. I said, I don't want to be 45 in community college still. And I knew if I would have taken a gap year, a year gap, I wasn't coming back. It would have been another, re-entry process. So I had to do what was best for me. And so I ended up sticking with the Cal State. But it was like, had I known them earlier and they start, because I didn't have anyone around me to talk about college, having the Professor Asaki and Maloney talk about USC, talk about all these schools that start having me research. So it took me going to Cerritos College to learn about college. Like, I had no clue. I just know it's a university. You get a degree, but I didn't know like there was like, I'm like, wow, there's like all these schools. When they were talking about Santa Barbara and USC and BYU, I don't know what this stuff is. I don't know. I know USC, I know UCLA. I don't know these other schools. I watch TV. That's how I know these schools. So I think being around, being in a program, it kind of opened my mind to think more things, because all I wanted was a degree. I didn't care where it came from. But now, in hindsight, I wish I kind of would have had more people around me talking about college. I would have focused more on what it could do for me and the benefits. So, yeah.
I can add on to the question. I think it's really important to recognize that transferring to a school is two very different questions of what school do I apply to and which school do I accept the enrollment offer. They're very different things. They're not the same thing. So if you're in the section of, if this person is in the section where they're talking about which school do I apply to, because it's going to be very difficult to choose a school after I apply to like 10 of them. The obvious solution is just go and apply. You don't even have an offer yet. You have no decision to even choose from anything. So put yourself out there and choose the best programs and et cetera, that kind of decision making. But if the question is now, I have 5 offers, what do I do? It gets complicated, and I really feel for that because one of the things I'm really proud of in my transfer process and experience was I got accepted into some of the best universities in California, LMU, UCLA, Berkeley, and USC. And that was a hell of a decision to pick which one am I going to go to. So you have to break it down. I broke it down with some of the important people in my life, my support group, my network, my professors. You have to look at programs that you got accepted into. Not all of them were accounting for me, so that was a factor. Their location was a factor. Surprisingly enough, like how my family felt about it was very much not a factor for me personally. And it's nothing I had nothing negative for them. It's just that's not the reason why I was going to school, was not to be close and in the proximity. It was so I can get to the best program I can go into. And they didn't want me to go to Berkeley. They said it was way too far, and that was really frustrating to me because like nowhere was whatever I wanted in that decision of theirs. They didn't say like, is it an okay program? Are you gonna like it? No, it was literally, it's too far. So that was something that I definitely had to deal with in regards to that decision, but I didn't take too much weight to it. At the end of the day, when I ended up putting in what I valued and the culture, that's another thing you mentioned, the culture, like how do I know it's the right culture for me? You can do your best to learn about the programs, to engage yourself with the students there and the programs there. Hell, you can go sit in the classroom if you wanted to, and see how that feels like. And sometimes all that, it's really hard logistically, like, especially Berkeley is 8 hours away, a drive, then yeah, of course, that's going to be kind of hard to like line up, but it's possible. It's possible to do all that kind of stuff sometimes. And if it's not, say the universities in England or New York or something, then maybe you just got to take the best day you can to go there. And if you can't go there and you don't have the resources there, contact those people, tap into the alumni, tap into your network, figure out there is a way to get that information. Because I think a part of the question was like, what if you don't have the data? What if you don't have the knowledge? Go get it. It's somewhere. If it's online, if it's you have to cold call some people, that's possible. And a lot of that stuff kind of scares us. And that's a whole nother obstacle on its own. But if you can get over that and you can connect to those people, you can make the best decision that you can make with what you were given. And that's the best thing you can do. At the end of the day, you're choosing between 3 or 4 of the best universities in the world. Like plan C is not a very bad plan. It's still a really good university. Like you still have things set up for yourself. So if that's the kind of struggle or challenge this person is talking about, oh my God, I have 3, 4 different schools. What am I supposed to do? Really tap into those resources, find the data, find the knowledge, and at the end of the day, make a pro and con list and make what's important to you the highest priority. And at the end of the day, either way, you succeed. You're going to get in the program, you're going to do the best you can. And you're going to get to, whatever job or whatever thing you want to do in the future, it's all going to be possible. Your school is not the thing that's going to stop you from doing that.
I want to add to that, and I want to kind of highlight a couple of things there. One, so what Dan was describing it's a challenging decision, right? It's not an easy one. Definitely not one to make lightly, but it doesn't need to be overwhelming. It's only overwhelming if you make it overwhelming. And what I mean is, Dan talked about there's one thing is applying to a university. Another thing is deciding which one you're going to go to once you get accepted. But when you're in the position of just applying, you shouldn't even be thinking about your decision of accepting. For what? It's completely useless. You're going to overwhelm yourself, and there's literally nothing you can do. You haven't even applied. You don't even know if they're going to accept you. Why are you right now today worrying about that and giving your own self stress and anxiety over it? You're doing it to yourself. Just don't do that. So just figure out what schools should I be applying for. And right now, if you're at that point where you're applying to schools, that should be your only worry. Not the financial aid, not, oh, it's far,
Am I going to be accepted? That's a problem for future you. And that should be a problem for future you, not present you. So just focus on that. What school should I be applying? And that's it. Don't think any further than that. And why should I be applying to these schools? And then just do it. Okay. Once you get accepted, that's a whole different situation. And like Dan said, you tap into your resources. You visit the schools, you talk to alumni, you talk to your professors, you take virtual tours if you can't go in person, right? You start looking into your financial aid packages that you're getting, scholarship, all of that, right? But just worry on one step at a time, right? And once you're admitted and you have all the information, right? You visited, you talked to alumni or whatever the case, you have all the information. Don't get FOMO, fear of missing out. Okay. And I think Lucy and I talked about this recently, that concept of if you have great options and you're looking at one that's a really good option and you like it, and it checks off a lot of your boxes, go with it. Go with that one. Make sure that you talk to your mentors about it, your professors. And again, it feels right for you. Just go with that one. Don't get that fear of, oh, but what if having gone to Berkeley would have been better? What if LMU would have been better? What if USC would have been better? But instead, I'm going to go to UCLA. No. If it felt right and you checked, again, it checked all the boxes, just go with that. Don't think of what you left out, because it's a great option and it suits whatever, your needs are.
Thank you so much, you guys. So we'll move on to the next submission from our survey. This one says, I think some specific challenges we face as first-generation college students are your parents. Although they are your biggest supporters, they're also your biggest doubters. I know that you guys touched on this subject before, but I think it would be nice to revisit this topic again.
I'll hop on that. So essentially, at a certain point, you have to realize that sometimes when your parents haven't been on the same path that you're taking, you're going to outgrow them. And you have to start making decisions for yourself, kind of like what Carol was saying, like, what's the best decision for me? And you're going to get you're so selfish. You're going to get why are you only thinking about yourself? And sometimes that's okay. Like, you need to do you need to try to be as successful as possible for yourself. And eventually your family will come on board. So if you want to like go to USC, go to USC. Don't let them bring you down saying like you're not good enough for that or whatever. Like, I think being your own advocate, your own supporter is really, really important, in the sense that no one's going to want the best for you like you want the best for you. Like, you want your parents to want the best for you. You want them to be understanding, to trust you and to support you. But, sometimes you're just not dealt those cards. And like some of the other, I don't remember who, I think it was Dan who touched on, or someone touched on the fact that like kids who, or students that already have those paths, they already know where they're going. Their parents understand them because they did that too. Or their friends are really successful. They went to really good schools, and they know like you do go to meetings like this. You go and you're like in a frat or a sorority, even if it's just for the networking. They know you have events. They know you're at school for 12 hours. They understand that. But like my parents, I think my dad went to like 6th grade and my mom has like some college experience. So how would they know? And at a certain point, it's like, how would they even know? They don't understand you or what you're going through. So you have to do something for yourself. And that's when that networking does become important, where you reach out to someone and you join ALPFA and you join Pathways and you just join things where you're like, okay, these are like-minded individuals. And if my parents can't help me and they can't get me through this, then I can get myself through this with my support system. I think that's very important, is, just get out of your comfort zone, get a support system, and keep up with that support system. Because sometimes, as much as we want our parents to be with us, they can't, It's tough, but it's the truth.
So I don't know how much this is going to apply to a lot of people, but I know that in my case, one of the reasons why my parents doubted and wanted to like not necessarily like hold me back, but had those reservations, right, is because they didn't experience it and they didn't want to see me fail. A part of it was them trying to like protect me, right, from getting hurt and them watching their kid go into the unknown where they don't know how to help you. And it just like Carol said, like there's this gap of understanding. And it was both like a pro and a con, but like there was some separation between me and my parents, so I didn't have to deal with it constantly, but it was always there when we were together, and it was hard. But like I kind of took on the same mentality as Carol did. Like, okay, like I need to do this regardless of what you think. I have to keep pushing for because I can see something, that ray of light at the end, and I want to get there. And for me personally, like it was more of like sharing some achievements that helped bring them towards my side. Like even though it caused a rift between my father and myself, he wants to be a part of my graduation. Like it's a very important moment. I want him to be there regardless of what's happened in the past. And he can see that and say, okay, like this is important for you. You've done something. I want to be there for you. Like I know I said all these negative things in the past, but like you got through it. So I want to be there. I want to see you succeed. So I don't know if it's like for a lot of different people's cases, but for my parents, like that was a big thing. It's just they were trying to protect me the only way they knew how.
Thank you so much, you guys, for that insight. So the next comment says, depending on how your parents are, sometimes you do not have enough time to get work done, either because they complain you do not help around the house or you're wasting time. So I think they're talking about, like being involved in the house and family stuff and not participating in as many chores or getting work done around the house or even working to support the household. How do you get them to understand that you're working so that you can be able to do that in the future?
That's a hard one. The thing is, you can't make them understand. And so when there's something like that that is completely out of your control, you just have to put your foot down and, sometimes just take whatever consequences might come with it, any repercussions, unfortunately. Like if you still live at home and your parents expect you to, keep up with the household chores or go to family functions on the weekend, and they start guilt tripping you. Oh, you never spend time with the family, you're always in school, what do you even do there, why are you there all the time? And I don't know if personally my family, they love to joke. They make a joke out of anything. And so then the jokes start coming in, like, oh, what are you doing? I just see you there sitting down, wasting your time. Are you even studying? They start nitpicking at the things that you're doing, and then they leverage that to complain about the lack of work that you're doing around the house, or the fact that you're not spending time with them, or the fact that you're not working and contributing to the household. But you're just sitting there doing I don't know what, right? Because they don't understand it. You don't have control over that. You literally you have to put your foot down and tell them, look, I know you don't understand it, but this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not, and whatever happens, happens. And unfortunately, yeah, there's times where there are consequences and there are repercussions to that. But that's why it's so important for you guys to build this support and community for yourselves. Because I've known so many students that have been in just really bad family situations like that. But they arm themselves with resources, with people, with a support group, and build those relationships and have those strong friendships with people that actually understand what they're going through, which is you guys. Again, we're all here on this collective experience.
So you guys should really get to know each other, talk to each other, hang out with each other, have Zoom sessions, literally just to hang out. You know, have like a social night, virtual game night over Zoom, just for the sake of it. Exchange phone numbers and really build that community where if something goes down at home, you have somebody to call that understands, even if it's just to vent. Sometimes that's all you need to kind of get that off your shoulders and then go back to, okay, you know, it is what it is. I can't make them understand. And I also know that I need to do me and that I need to put my foot down on this. So I need to vent. I need to compartmentalize that out because I have things to do. I have deadlines. I have applications. So sometimes that's just what you have to do. And whatever consequences come with it, they come with it.
I think that that speaks a lot to me personally because I take care of my elderly mom, and so sometimes I have to tell her I can't do this and I can't do that, but I know that in the future I'll be able to afford her home care, so that kind of gets me through whatever guilt that I'm experiencing. So we'll move on to the next comment. It says emotionally or mentally, also depending, but from my own experience, my family members are constant reminders of what you have not accomplished and that negative voice in your head, sometimes telling you you won't prosper or you are not smart enough and you won't get things done. So a lot of issues regarding the family, but I think this is also a very pertinent thing.
Yeah, I think and this one also kind of ties back to what we were just talking about. This is why therapy is really important. I know for a while I was pretty skeptical about it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, it's good. Should probably do it. Tried it. It really wasn't my thing. It's kind of weird, right? Like people that have actual real issues go to therapy. There's just so many not understanding how much there is to gain from anyone. Everyone should go to therapy. Literally every single person alive should go to therapy. And if it doesn't work out with one therapist, try another one. If it doesn't work out with another one, it's like dating, you know? Because you need to have that outlet. You need to have that out. You're gonna go crazy. You're literally, if all of that, you just keep that in there. And yeah, so venting to your friends is helpful, right? And kind of talking about and going back and forth is helpful. But again, remember when I said, when you have that growth in here, anything like that that comes your way, especially with those weird family dynamics and things like them making you feel like you're a failure, like you've been in school for so long and nothing's happening, oh, and you're not even getting good grades, like why are you wasting your time, and putting all those doubts, you need to have that ability to process that in a way that is not going to be damaging to you. And that's where therapy comes in. And that's where the growth comes in, right? Over time, to where literally they could tell you anything and you're unfazed. You can get there. You can literally get to the point where somebody so close to you that you love and care about so much can tell you something so hurtful, but you've done that growth process through therapy, and that therapy is a great outlet for that. You've done that growth process to where you receive that information and you know exactly where you have so much understanding of why they're saying that, what it means, how to process that and filter it so that it doesn't hurt you.
Thank you so much, Carol. And I think for me, therapy has, opened up when you have more options of people's perspectives in your life, it gives you more options to work with rather than your limited mindset of just singular options that you present for yourself. So that's how I kind of benefit from therapy. This one says, I'm a DACA student and opportunities for scholarships are sometimes cut off for me, and I wonder about my ability to afford college and qualify for a job after graduation. Also very important.
I guess I'll add to that as well. So I'm also a DACA student. I was looking around, I'm like, I don't know that any of our other panelists are DACA students. So I'm a DACA student, so I know exactly what you're talking about. The thing about having DACA in a way is that, you are able to be legally employed. And even if you didn't have DACA, there's other ways, becoming an independent contractor, but that's another conversation. Don't get overwhelmed by that. Again, take everything one step at a time. Focus on the now, right? Just know that it is possible. Like, I'm going to a Big Four accounting firm in T-2 months, and I have DACA. I'm legally employable, and I got my degree, and I'm able to sit for my CPA and get licensed in the state of California. So the most important thing there is to focus on your grades. Apply to those scholarships. There's so, especially here, we're so blessed in the state of California to have just so many resources excuse me, for undocumented and DACA students. So go out there and look for them. Wherever you transfer to, I can guarantee you they will have a number of scholarships, or at least be able to direct you to somewhere where you can apply to scholarships specific to you. So when I transferred to CSUN, I was actually what they call an MSP Dreamer Scholar. So I was granted a scholarship just that was for Dreamers, for undocumented or DACA students. The state also offered me grant. I don't qualify for FAFSA, right, federal aid, but I tapped into the other resources. There is grant money out there. There's scholarship money out there. I'm legally employable. What's stopping me? Myself, because of all the uncertainty and the anxiety that I'm giving myself because of my legal status. Stop doing that. It's possible. Did that help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you, Carol. I think that a lot of students who probably have faced those same struggles will feel very comfortable knowing that someone else has blazed that path, and that it's possible they can get a job and they can find funding for their education. The next comment, let's see. This comment says, I guess another question would be how to avoid going from an A at Cerritos to a C at a 4-year. I remember hearing Carol say that on another student panel that an A at Cerritos would maybe get us a C at a 4-year. That really concerned me because I have to work for the A here.
So I guess my question would be, are you just sliding into that A, or is that a thriving A? Because if you're just sliding into that A, that's definitely a C at any 4-year. And it's not because of the letter grade, it's just symbolic. It's about the effort. If you're just sliding into an A, what kind of an effort are you putting? Okay. If you have a solid A and you know that you put in a lot of effort, you'll maybe get a B. Okay. I wouldn't worry. It's interesting when we're put in that situation, right? Because and I always tell the story of my first semester, super overwhelmed. I literally hit the floor stumbling, tripping and falling my first semester at CSUN. It was literally the end of week 1, and I was on the freeway crying because I was so stressed out.
And I sat there and I was like, clearly what I'm doing isn't working. So what do I have to do? Oh, I need to change. Look at that. We are so able to change. So what did I do? I changed what I was doing. It's just that the thing is, so there's things that you can do right now to create better study habits, but sometimes there's certain individuals that need to be put in that position where they have a little bit more pressure and they're like, oh, this is different. This is a lot more, for them to kick themselves in the rear and then, you know, change whatever they have to change, adapt, and then apply that new strategy. So there's definitely things that you can do right now at Cerritos. Become better note takers, become more organized. And I always say that, organize yourself. You should have all your deadlines, whether it's a digital calendar or a physical calendar, you should have all of your deadlines that are on your syllabus on there, and then write out your tasks every day, what you're going to work on, and your different commitments. Organize yourself. You guys leave things just floating up in the air and you're like, oh, I had to go do this. Oh my God, this is due tomorrow. Wait, when is this due? You do that to yourself. Organize yourself. If you start doing that now and you master that now, once you transfer over, it's going to be a lot easier to adapt, and you're going to know exactly what you're going to adapt to. And every class is different. And maybe you guys can tap in here, but every class is different. And so you're going to develop this skill where it's like, after the first 2 weeks of a semester, you have an idea of how you're going to have to study for each class and how you're going to have to get yourself organized. I don't know, Daniel, Dan, Liliana, Jessica, if you guys want to tap into that. But I know for me, that's something that I did learn how to do, and that it was really helpful. And it's possible to get that A. I'll tap in. I didn't end up keeping my A's, but it's not the end of the world. You know, I might have a job, making a decent amount of money, living on my own now in Santa Barbara, you know. But one of the things, and especially it's difficult if you're going from Cerritos to a quarter system. Whew, those weeks come by, you can't slack it all. Otherwise, you're like missing half the class. 10 weeks is a lot shorter than the 16, 15, 18 weeks at Cerritos, depending on what class you're in. I mean, there are some 9-week classes at Cerritos. I took those. But one of the things too is, mimic Carol, at the beginning, write everything out. Get that calendar. I prefer physical calendars. I mean, I ended up using both Google Calendar and physical calendars, but write it all out so you know, so it's not a surprise, you know. Also with that is utilize or even just realize what's available. One of the daunting things going into SB, the weeder classes, to even get you into the major. Most people fail the first accounting one or the economics requirement going into. You have other chances. They give you chances because they know it's so hard, but they also give you tons of resources. And if you don't utilize those, that's on you, you know. And there's also, you know, you have the family aspect, or once you get out, I mean, I dissociated myself somewhat from my family. One of my decisions to move away in the pandemic brought me back, but earlier than anticipated, but now I'm back here again. But it's realizing, whether it's family, whether it's friends, to put in the effort to know, you know, there's maybe some adversity or a breaking of relationships a little bit, but if someone really cares about you and they're meant to stay with you, they'll realize that you need to put the time in for yourself, away from what you may have normally done when you're at university, because it's going to take more time. You know, it's going to take more studying. It also depends on actual load. You know, some people choose to graduate. If you're going to graduate sooner than the normal, you're going to have to put in a ton more time. You know, if you want, you can stretch. Sometimes you decide to stretch it out. Everybody's situation is different. But, you know, you have to be willing to put in that effort. So don't be afraid to ask questions either. Each professor is different. Some of them aren't that helpful, but there are some that are just sitting there in their office hours doing nothing because nobody comes to visit them. And they're just a fountain of information, really willing to help you. You know, you just got to get there. And if you want to move on to the masters, PhDs, you've got to make those relationships. So, or that's part of it, at least.
I think that's like such a good topic to cover, is like actually being like just confident enough to go into the office hours. Like I have a professor, Dan knows, Professor Leonetti, he's like, I live for office hours, please someone come visit me. And that's really sad, right? So I'm like, I went every Tuesday of the entire semester, and he helped me navigate an offer that I had originally turned down. I got my offer back. He's going to help me reject the initial offer that I accepted, and he's a CFO. I want to be a CFO. Who better to have in my corner than someone who already has been through everything, and he can walk me through the steps and to do the actual things that, like, it's like I said, like how I'm Jeanette's sister, I'm paving the way for her so that she doesn't have to do like every single struggle that I had to even get into college. So he's a CFO now, he's going to help me with that path, right? And like Jessica said, like Professor Johnson wrote me letters for scholarships. Thank you, of course. And I got those scholarships. I needed letters to get into USC, the master's program, and I got into the USC master's program. When you develop these relationships with these professors, like they write really nice things about you. You don't always get to see what they say, but like it's so powerful and so impactful that it helps you get things that you can't get on your own, because you need those like reference letters. Yes, go to office hours. And then I always give this little tidbit, is like the worst they can say is no. Like, let's say that you're struggling because you came from a community college, so you don't understand the schedule, or you're having trouble keeping up. Go ask them for an extension. The worst they're going to say is no. And if they said no, then you're in the same spot. But if they said yes, now you're doing even better. So that's always my go-to. The worst they can say is no. So always ask questions.
I laughed a bit at what some of the other students were saying, because I was totally me. I breezed through community college at Cerritos. I was able to get A's in almost all my classes without even trying. And when I read that the person, might have been working for the A's, I just thought, oh my God, you're so lucky, because I went into university and I had no study skills. And my first semester, besides my accounting classes, like it chewed me out. And it pushed me to reach out for help. And I am so glad to say that I actually feel like I hacked my way through my grades. Like I didn't graduate with the best GPA, but I also didn't have to work very hard. One of the things that I was taught to do was to implement the resources around you. And Dan was over there smiling because he was part of my study group for a long time. I don't think I fully studied an entire class for like the last year of my time at USC, because I, leaned on my peers. Dan and I had a really tight study group, and, he would study one section, I would study another, and then we would like compare notes and teach it to each other. So I never really had to fully study for an entire exam on my own. And that helped me overcome so many weaknesses I had. I was able to see how he was studying, how he was doing notes. I was able to improve mine and just like, work through it on my own. And I know that my grades could have been better if I had put in that hard work, if I'd done something in community college. So the fact that you're doing something to get your A, you were already ahead of where I was when I transferred.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. This will be our final comment, as we will make a hard stop at 12:30. We thank you guys so much for staying thus far. I know you guys are busy with life, but this last one says, as a first gen, one of my greatest challenges is being my own advocate, recognizing / creating opportunities. I sometimes overlook them. Maybe if they could talk about the mental preparation for academic / professional meetings and chats. So comments about that?
So the first thing is like everybody's camera should be on. Like, let's just start there. Okay. Like, I mean, look, like I'm not wearing makeup, but like I tossed the sweater on and I brushed my hair and here I am, like we've been busy all week. We've had finals. Like, there's no excuse not to show your face. Like, it's just nice. It's like you're professional, like especially over Zoom. It's so easy to get like distracted by the technology. Like, well, I'm not there, so they don't need to see me. But it's so much nicer to like be able to look at people and like they smile, so you smile back or whatever. That's like the first step. And then I'm sorry, I just got like lost on that train of thought, but be professional, be nice. When we're done with this, I'm expecting some emails from the ALPFA, crew to say thank you, thank Professor Johnson for sitting here. It's Friday. I have like 2 events to go to tonight, and here I am, and like Professor Osaki asked me to do this, and I almost didn't come. And then I realized like, hey, Professor Osaki's done so much for me, and why not share the knowledge that I've gotten from him, the knowledge that I've gotten from Dan and Carol, and like, why not just help each other out? I think it's very important to be resourceful in that sense, where it's like you have to understand that people do things for you, and you have to do things for people too. Surround yourself with givers and not just takers. I think that's very important. Yeah.
I wanted to add to it, but Samir, can you go ahead and repeat it again? There's a part of the question you're talking about, like being prepared to go into these social environments and do the social elements and go reach out and prepare to see opportunities. Or I guess I'm starting to recall now. That's exactly what you're asking for. But and so that's, to me, that was the biggest obstacle for me. That has always been the biggest obstacle, but it's also the most rewarding obstacle, because we talk about like not knowing what you're supposed to do. We talk about like tapping into your network, to talk about like going and using your resources. But how can you do that if you don't have resources and you don't have a network, because you don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to socialize? So you're doing it on your own, like you've always done. And so how are you going to even take those few steps forward anyways? A lot of it is right here, if not all of it. You can learn the skills to be in the situation. You can learn how to, like, the habits of talking to people. You can figure that out, but like you really got to figure out that inner voice that's telling you like, you don't need to do that. Oh, that's too much. It's too scary. I'll do it later. I'll push it back. Like Liliana said, I'm not going to turn my camera on. I look embarrassing. It's all the inner voice that's somehow telling you it's not worth it. But I 100% like, if I see your face, then you've already got a one up to everyone else, because I can recognize you now. You're not just a name somewhere. And all it was because, somebody that, your hair was messy or you didn't look proper, I don't know, something. But there's exceptions. You're driving or something. Yeah, I get it. But it is something that is a big deal. And it takes a lot of inner work. And Carol had mentioned therapy is a great way to get through those inner voices and whatever's telling you that you're not good enough, or you don't belong, or I'm too terrified, or I'm scared, or whatever it is that's telling you that's going to be the best way to get over this pressure that you give yourself, right? Even if it's a pressure to not mess up when the opportunity is great. That's a huge part of it. And part of you has to accept that. I think part of one of the biggest things I've learned from people around me was that, like, when you mess up, that's the biggest opportunity to learn. When you didn't do something right, when you didn't show up, how am I supposed to talk to the professor and tell them I didn't show up? How am I supposed to tell the professor that I don't have my stuff together? And then you don't, and then you ignore them, and then you avoid them for 10 years. And then you're like, you know what I mean? Like, your whole life is going to be controlled by this feeling that you get. So get over it. Go talk to somebody, figure out why that is, how you feel that way, and send that email. And I guarantee you're going to learn more from that than all the right things that you did. So
I really felt
Okay.
it when Dan said, when he said, you're going to avoid them for the next 10 years, because so I know it's, you're blowing that up, but that's what it feels like. And I think as first gen students, we have that tendency, right? You mess up and you're like, damn, I really messed up and I was called out for it. And I know what I have to do to fix it, but avoidance is much more comfortable. And so you avoid that professor, you avoid that person, instead of just going, hey, I know I was supposed to do this and I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm here to, make amends, or I'm sending you the email now. And then move on from that. Like Dan said, get over it.
And we've all been there. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that hot seat where I'm being lectured because of something that I messed up. That's part of the growth process. You have to fail. We don't have all the answers. We're figuring it out right now with these sessions, with our mentors, with our professors. They're supposed to tell you where you're lacking, change it, move on, get over it. I messed up, but I learned. And that's the most important nugget there, is that I learned and I made the change, and now I'm moving forward. And I'm not going to dwell on, oh, I messed up. Oh, I didn't send that email. Oh, it's been 3 days and I haven't sent Carol a thank you email. I'm just not going to send it anymore. Just, you know, hopefully she doesn't remember me. It's fine. You can move on. You can move on and then just do better. That's it. In terms of preparing, you know, I'm glad I'm not the only one that calls out not having your cameras on. You guys really need to have your cameras on. It's the difference that it makes is just monumental. I love seeing your faces. I love seeing your reactions. I can see Tamir, I can see Lucy, David. Just love getting the head nods, right? It creates this flow of energy. So where David sends me an email, hey, I remember that guy. Oh yeah, he was in this nice wooden, this like office desk, little horse on top. Yeah, I remember you, guy with the beard. And it just creates a different dynamic when we have that first initial connection after that. And that helps the relationship. It's really important, especially with this virtual environment, which is here to stay, I believe. And so that preparation, those are the easy things that you can do. Easy things. And then, like Dan, kind of get out of your head and just do it. Send that email. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody doesn't reply to you, send a follow-up email. You know, give it 5 days. Send a follow-up email. You're not buggy, you're not annoying. People are just busy, and you're gonna get there too. I appreciate it so much when somebody sends me an email and then 5 days later I get that little push like, hey, I sent you this. Let me know if we can chat. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Thank you so much for following up. Yes, I'm available on these dates. It's not annoying. It doesn't bother me. I appreciate it. Think about that. I appreciate the fact that this person, one, wants to talk to me. Thank you. And two, they took that extra effort to be like, hey, just a reminder, I sent you this. I love that. So get out of your heads and don't see it as a negative thing. Just do it. Send the email, make the phone call, send the text, join the meeting, put your faces on there. Those are the easy things that you can do to prepare.
I have a comment because most of you know me as a lecturer at Cerritos College, but I had another life for 35 years or 40 years. And I can tell you, if your video's not on, you're not in the room. You know, you're attending it, but you're not engaged. You came to the meeting, but you're not participating. No one remembers someone they don't see. So if your video's not on, and I respect the fact that you don't have it on, I'm just telling you how decisions are made. You're not in the meeting. So, and so there's always a cause and effect, and you have to know that. So yeah, you might be at the meeting, but you're not participating in the meeting. And I just view it when I'm the presenter, if your video's not on, you're not there. You know, you may not like that. You don't like that comment, but you're not the one making the decisions. I am. And that's just a reality. Okay. In terms of being an advocate, there's a student, a person I know well, who I was giving advice to, and finally they couldn't take it any longer. And they said, I didn't know what you were talking about, Mr. Osaki. I did it. I took a leap of faith. Who was that? Because that is being your own advocate, to take a leap of faith and do it. Who was that? Someone better fess up, because I think they're here. What is it you meant, and why did you do it?
I hope you're talking about me, or else this is really embarrassing. But yeah, so basically I never I don't know. I just like when I first met you, and, you know, I love your personality. It's very friendly and outgoing, and like I tend to be very like, I don't know, kind of like introverted, even though it doesn't come off that way. Trust me, the fake it till you make it is real. I just act this way. But you told me apply to USC, and I was really skeptical. I was scared. I didn't want to go to any of the meetings to even find out about the program, to see the prerequisites. And then one day I just told myself, I'm like, let's just do it. You know, I'm just gonna do it. Like, what's the worst? Like I said, what's the worst that could happen? They're gonna reject me, and then what? I'm in the same place I was before. So then he kept giving me advice. Professor Osaki kept giving me advice and giving me advice, and then I was like, I'm just gonna listen. So I did. I took that leap of faith. I graduate in 2 weeks with an offer at a Big Four. I just signed my lease in Austin. Like, I mean, I didn't have anybody to guide me and to like show me the way, because I'm the first person doing this in my family. So when somebody gives you their time and their attention and they seem genuinely interested and they want you to succeed, it's because they want you to succeed and they're genuinely interested. They're not going to waste their time. So like Professor Osaki and I are very close now. I feel like he's like my second dad because, you know, like he's like my career dad, kind of. Like he cares about my life. I tell him really personal things about my life, like any problems that I'm having. I like run to him for advice, because we all need that, right? He has a lot of life experience that I haven't had yet, because I'm not as old as he is.
I'm old.
But
I'm old. You can say it.
but but it's just things that once you experience them, that's going to be in your mind, and you're going to have that. But if you don't have that and someone else has that and they're willing to give you their time, then just listen to them. Take that leap of faith, because look where it's gotten me, and imagine where it can get you. You know, I think we're all like, you're sitting here on a Friday at 12:30. You're here because you want to be here. You want to succeed. So take those leaps of faith, and what's the worst that can happen? You succeed? Oh no.
If you don't understand, ask questions. But you need to embrace advice and then ask questions to make sure you understand it. But I think that goes directly to being your own advocate. You can't just sit in the corner, do something with the advice, but don't do it blindly. Ask, what does it mean? I'm not sure I understand what you want me to do and why you want me to do it. But you know, when you have a mentor, an advisor, you can't buy that type of support. You can't buy it, right? But you have to be willing to use it. You have to advocate for yourself, because either someone won't do it for you or someone's not capable of doing it for you. So you have to be your own advocate. And I just wanted, that was an interesting comment that came in, Thamir, at the last second, right? And it could have been more important.
I think that's a perfect way to segue into our closing. I'd like to thank all of our panelists, Liliana, Jessica, Carol, Sparkle, who had to leave, Dan Silva, and Dan Ochoa. Thank you so much for doing this. This was requested by our students here at ALPFA, you know, and you guys delivered some really good insight to them, and we appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. You know, and thank you so much. And it's great to hear that you guys are doing such wonderful things, and you guys will be moving on to bigger, better things. But, you know, we know that we can contact you in the future to do something like this, because I know that you are very passionate about this subject, and we appreciate that. So with that, Professor Osaki, should I stop the recording? And if you can, please leave your email in the chat, so that students who may not have joined ALPFA can have your contact information. That would be very beneficial. And thank you guys again.